The government and the opposition have continued to trade blows over the budget during this afternoon's question time in Parliament. Tonight, the opposition leader Tony Abbott gets his chance to outline an alternative plan with his budget reply. For more, I'm joined by our political editor Lyndal Curtis in Canberra. And Lyndal, what can we expect from the opposition leader tonight?
Well, I think we can expect a broad vision for what he wants for the economic future of the nation. The government's been pushing him all day to outline detailed saving and spending cuts, a detailed plan, but I don't think we'll get that from the opposition. But for more of a look at both the government's budget and the opposition leader's budget reply, I've been joined by the Shadow Assistant Treasurer, Mathias Cormann. Senator Cormann, welcome to News24.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see from Tony Abbott tonight?
Well, Tony Abbott tonight will present a positive plan for Australia with as its centrepiece a restoration of good government. Tony Abbott is in tune with families across Australia. He's in tune with the pressures faced by families across Australia, in particular cost of living pressures, and he's in tune with the pressures faced by business. And the reason he is because he, of course, has been crisscrossing the country and talking with people everywhere about the challenges they're facing and about their aspirations. So what we can expect tonight is a very positive plan for Australia. It is a very comprehensive vision that Tony Abbott will lay out tonight.
But given that you've been calling on the government to get back to surplus, you've criticised the government for not being tough enough in the budget, should he outline exactly what he'd do if he was in a similar situation, especially given it's a minority parliament and that's not totally out of the question that an election may be earlier?
This government has been blessed with the strongest terms of trade in 140 years, and there's no doubt that the budget should be in a stronger position. The budget should be in surplus now. If it wasn't for 3 or 4 years of waste and mismanagement by an incompetent Labor administration, the budget would be in surplus now. Now, I mean, you would well know, and the Labor Party well knows, that we have presented a very comprehensive and detailed list of $50 billion worth of savings in the lead-up to the last election. The government has been so critical of those savings that they've started to pick up some of them. And look, the Labor Party would, of course, play these sorts of games, but I just note that in opposition, the Labor Party never presented a full budget. Of course they didn't.
So do you remain committed to the savings you announced during the election?
We have, of course, presented a very comprehensive list of savings. We've said to the government we are very keen to sit down with you constructively and work through our list of savings and to help you as the government to achieve more savings to bring the budget into surplus quicker. But people across Australia know that it's the coalition that manages the budget better. It is the coalition that delivers surplus budgets. The Labor Party talks stuff before budgets and then goes soft when they deliver the budget. The Labor Party talks about surpluses and then deliver deficits.
But you stand by the savings you announced during the election, because occasionally policies change after elections.
Well, of course. I mean, the savings that were presented before the last election are there for all to see. And of course, things that do change during a term of Parliament. And in the lead up to the next election, we will, the same way as we did last time, we will present again a comprehensive list of savings and spending cuts, if that might be required at that point in time to get the budget back into surplus sooner.
Could I ask you, have you seen anything in the government's budget that you can say you will support?
Well, look, I mean, this is obviously, a very, the budget is a very, very large budget. And there's, of course, a whole heap of things in there that we will support. But, I guess what the people across Australia are interested in are the sorts of things that we're concerned about. And we are concerned on the $2 billion attack on families across Australia. We are concerned about the class warfare in this budget. We're concerned about the fact that this government is blowing out its spending in areas like border protection because of the incompetence in managing the borders. We are concerned that the government has had to go into the Parliament to ask for approval for another $50 billion worth of debt. Only 2 years ago, the Parliament was asked by this government to more than double the approved debt ceiling from $75 billion to $200 billion. And here,
while you're critical of that, will you support it? You won't oppose it? You won't try and stop it?
We want the government to explain why it's required. We want the government to explain how they got themselves into this position. And what we want the government to explain in particular is why they want the Parliament to give them a blank cheque, why the government wants to repeal this requirement to provide statements to both houses of Parliament as to why this additional debt is required, to actually publish the special circumstances reasons in the Government Gazette as to why there is this requirement for additional debt. And of course, Wayne Swan so far has refused to be accountable to the Australian Parliament. And by refusing to be accountable to the Australian Parliament, he is refusing to be accountable to the Australian people.
If I could go back to your list of savings, while you say you outlined $50 billion of savings, some of which the Treasury questioned, you also outlined a program to spend most of that, I think with about $10 billion to spare, and your savings are spread across the 4 years. You wouldn't be able to, on your own figures, bring the budget back into surplus any earlier than the government, would you?
Well, let me just pick up on two savings measures that we put forward in the lead up to the last election. I'm well aware of them because they were in my then portfolio of employment participation and training. We said that the money on trade training centres was not well spent, that the programme wasn't hitting the mark, that it wasn't delivering the appropriate results, it wasn't delivering new apprentices, it wasn't delivering new electricians, new plumbers, the productivity places programme wasn't hitting the mark, and we said that that money should be cut and that it could be spent more wisely elsewhere. And of course last night that's exactly what the government did. After criticising us in the lead up to the last election, after attacking us for our proposal to better spend money on training rather than to waste it on trades training centres, to spend it and target it better on better training initiatives, now the government has actually gone exactly down the path that we proposed before the last election. What we are saying is they should look at the whole list and they should look for some other opportunities for some more spending cuts.
Senator Cormann, thank you very much for your time.
Good to be here.
And Kim, the opposition leader's budget in reply address will be delivered a little under 2.5 hours from now.
Watching. Thanks.